two travel agents with an ocean-sized obsession for small ship cruising.
Get ready as we inspire you to sail beyond the brochure.
It's the Ship Less Traveled.
Welcome again to another episode of The Ship Less Traveled. Sometimes, Lorraine, it's desirable to be fashionably late, and that introduces our topic today. What are we talking to the people about?
We are talking about last-minute cruise bookings, Dave.
Absolutely. People are always looking for a last-minute deal in my neck of the woods, and I'm sure it's no different where you are.
They really are. And, sometimes it's a really great, amazing thing that you can do. Sometimes it can't go as planned, and we're here to help you with that.
And one of our jobs as a travel professional is to help people cut through the noise and find out what is really out there. And I think a lot of times customers will bring things that they see to me that are just too good to be true. And sometimes they are last minute deals. But there can be some warning things to look at. And that's not to say every last minute deal isn't valid, but you really need to be looking at what you're getting into. So, what would you think are some of the myths and misconceptions about last minute cruising?
Well, I think the biggest one is that you're going to get a deal. And yes, they are a real thing. A last-minute bargain is a real thing. But when we look at the smaller ships and the river cruises, which is what we ultimately specialize in, it's harder to find that last minute deal.
Yeah, there's
You
less
may not
inventory.
get
Oh,
exactly, the ships on these ships with these cruise lines, they bring out the offers early. When you come to last minute, they're not there anymore. And also neither maybe the whole sailing and or most of the cabins, so you're not getting ideally what you want.
absolutely. And I think that can also translate to placement on these small ships. So when we do see last minute deals, they may be for one or two cabins that maybe haven't sold because of a reason. They might be located next to an electrical room that might be a bit noisier or on a lower deck, things like that. And so if you want to have the best selection, you want to be early to the party. You don't want to arrive fashionably late.
An exception to that, of course, is when I booked my Star Clipper to go away in at the end of May. I
Right.
literally booked it 2 weeks ahead of time. And, so that's totally going against my rule here. It was a last minute plan to get my husband on a holiday onto a cruise. Um, but we booked the last cabin on the ship, the last one, and it was portholes. Ideally, I would love a balcony. So that also goes towards that. My husband's preference is a balcony cabin. We couldn't get that because we booked it so late. We were happy with what we got because we went for the experience of the ship, and that's a good thing. But it wasn't the ideal thing.
If you're contemplating last minute cruises, again, there may be a deal there. There could be something, but I think you need to be flexible in terms of what you're going to get in terms of the cabin. And you've just come back from a last minute cruise. My Amazon cruise was last minute. I booked that 4 weeks before I was off to the jungle. And, I had to accept I might not have got an upper deck room. I might have had to settle for lower deck on that. Fortunately, I did get the upper deck, but those are the examples of the flexibility that people need to be thinking about.
You really need to be flexible. You need to accept that you may not have the itinerary you want, or the ship you want, or the cabin you want. The huge thing with these ships is the suites. Now, if you're looking to really up the game and go luxury on these cruises, the suites sell first. And that is true of every sailing I've looked at for a last minute. They go first because there's only a few, very few suites on these ships. If you're happy to get a porthole window, then by all means book
Absolutely.
last minute.
We are looking for serious cruisers. That doesn't mean you're booking right this second, but that you have serious questions and you're seriously thinking about it. And again, if you are seriously flexible, sometimes people have nothing else to do but just to simply go on a cruise, and it can work really well for a last minute scenario. Solo travelers are interesting because I find some cruise lines now, especially in small ship, are putting aside a few cabins for solos. But those book up so far in advance that you're never going to get one of those as a last minute. However, you might, as a solo traveler in a last minute, get a traditional cabin sold at a solo price. So sometimes with the solo travelers, they have to be the most flexible, I find.
Oh, totally, because you know, no one wants to pay the double room rate.
Absolutely. And I find as the clock ticks, sometimes the cruise lines will make it more juicier for solo travelers. But it's a tightrope because, especially if you've got to fly to your destination, the closer you get to departure, while the cruise price may become more desirable, the airfare can get away from you, can go up in cost. And so, I typically find around 60 days is a zone that can be quite interesting when I'm working with a last minute customer because at 60 days we can still get a good flight and the cruise lines have started to offer some incentive pricing.
And that's a really genuine thing you just said. I mean, you may get a fantastically amazing cruise with everything you want, but do you know what? Those flights have been going up and up and up.
Yeah,
And the cheapest ones sell first, and the closer to departure to cruise date you get, the more expensive those flights are. You
absolutely.
may have been looking months ago, and the flight was, I'm talking from the UK down to Europe, the flight may have been £50 per person each way. You're now looking at £300 per person each way. So that's a huge difference. When you've got two of you traveling, you're booking return flights, that's huge.
It's about finding that right balance. Now, I don't know in the UK industry if you guys talk about the 90-day ticker. Does that ring any bells?
It rings some bells.
Yeah, maybe from, I don't know, maybe when you were doing this over in Nova Scotia. But it's that at 90 days is typically a point when, if you've booked in advance, your final payment might come up at that point. And, cruises are starting to be able to identify how full that sailing will be. And whether
Oh,
it's
yeah,
small or big ship, cruise lines don't want to have unused inventory. They want somebody in the room, right? And so 90
yeah.
days is when it starts ticking down. So if someone is looking for a last minute deal, I would identify a last minute deal as anything struck within 90 days of departure.
Sometimes these cruise lines offered guaranteed cabins at a lower rate. This means that the cabin is unassigned, but guess what? 90 days before departure, they assign those cabins. So anything booked after that, you're left with what's left on the ship. All of those cabins have now been assigned onto the cruise. So again, book early. That's when you get the deals, that's when you get the best cabins, that's when everything can come together for you to make it the perfect cruise holiday.
Yeah, absolutely. There's an art to it, and of course, that's where a travel agent can be your best friend. Not only do we know when the best time is, but you might book one or two trips a year. We book one or two trips a day. So we are helping so many people. We are looking at a lot of things. We just know what the good timings are. And I think if there's anything from this call, I'm thinking you got to book early or be flexible if you're in the last minute. But Lorraine, what do you think? Am I saying something that's correct, or would you have something to add?
That is totally correct. Book as early as you can. Let us help you. We're experienced in this. As Dave says, I look at hundreds of different cruise lines, and I can help you. I've been on at least one from every one ship from every cruise line.
Yeah.
Um, I've done organized ship tours on any that I haven't sailed on personally. So, I really know what I'm talking about, and I know Dave does as well through training, cruise line training, especially for us cruise specialists. We know how to sell a cruise.
And I think we can also help, again, cut through the noise because if you have seen something that's a last minute deal that looks too good to be true, there may be a valid reason for that. And I'm not going to take up time today to talk about all the reasons, but maybe there's just issues with the cruise line, or the ship's not that great, or it's sailing at the wrong time of year. we're going to be able to give you those pearls of wisdom so that if you decide to go with that deal, you can go forward with the confidence that you know what you're stepping into.
Yeah, and anything you could see on the cruise line direct, we can book it for you.
Absolutely.
Rest assured, our service is free to you. We're here for you the whole way through.
Absolutely. And it's the range of lines that we work with that we know about. We're not here to sell you on the one line that we work for. We can help you, again, look at and explore all those different options. So, look, when it comes to last minute cruising, if you are thinking about it, get in touch right away because tick tock, the clock is ticking. And with every day that goes by, you may end up missing out on that last cabin that could be available or the flight that you need to get to that destination. So if you're itching for a last minute, you need to get in touch with us. If you're in North America, you can reach me through my website at destinationwhatever.com.
And here in the UK, Lorraine McCoward, bespokecruiseholidays.com, and on Facebook, the same name, Bespoke Cruise Holidays. We're here for you.
Well, this has been a blast telling people about last minute cruises. You know, there's really no general conversation. Every last minute cruise is a snowflake. It's unique. So think about it. And until the next time our paths cross, take care, everybody. This has been The Ship Less Traveled. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye.
Curious about small ship cruising and ready to start planning? We're here to help plan your next voyage, whether you're a first timer or a seasoned sailor.
If you're in the UK, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me at bespokecruiseholidays.com or visit my agency's Facebook page. Let's plan something unforgettable.
I'm in Canada and cover North America. Visit my website, destinationwhatever.com, or connect with my agency on Facebook. Let's get you on board. Literally.
If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Click on those like and subscribe buttons and please share us with your cruise-loving friends. Support our channel and let's keep this ship sailing.
Thanks for coming on board. Until next time, this has been The Ship Less Traveled, where small ships lead to big adventures.